Go. Mayor, council, my fellow citizens, I apologize for this letter, both for its length and its unfortunate necessity. I've been doing a lot of talking since June 9th. I cannot speak on behalf of my fellow council members other than to suggest they were as appalled and shocked at the mayor's conduct as I was. In reviewing the audio record of our last council meeting, I noted at least 14 violations of state statutes, town code, council procedures and policy, and simple common decency. I stopped at that point. To respond in detail would consume most of the June 22nd meeting. Some of these violations were committed by persons sitting or standing in the public area, but most were committed by our newly elected mayor. I am asking for the mayor to resign his office.
Hey, everybody hold your comments,
That's
please.
bullying.
Hold your comments, please.
Order, please. Thank you. I'm asking for the mayor to resign his office for the following reasons. For continuing to align himself with the Reform Coalition Group as its nominal head. This is diametrically opposed to the mission of this town. And as editor of the newspaper, The Mine Shaft. Members of this radical organization are engaged in an ongoing conspiracy to commit sedition, and have been for at least a year. Their objective is the elimination of all elected town officials and selected town staff, i.e. the town manager and chief of police, among others, and replace them with their anarchist counterparts by any means necessary. Their methods vary, but for the most part consist of disruption during council meetings by shouting or talking loudly in hopes of gaining a forum to argue their views. Lately, they have been blocking access to the public podium by attempting to intimidate citizens who wish to address the council. It's easier to intimidate by leaning on the wall than sitting in a chair, if you enjoy that sort of thing. Other methods include dissemination of false information, such as disinformation, misinformation, perception management, and when all else fails, outright lies. 2, the mayor and members of this group have brought several lawsuits against the town, its staff, and members of the council. To date, all have been dismissed either due to a lack of evidence or because they were lacking in merit. 2 additional lawsuits have been filed within 1 week of the mayor taking office. To date, those lawsuits have cost the town many thousands of dollars.
Good.
This group, while represented by Hal Davidson, has threatened to recall any council member who does not resign. As Mr. Davidson has a lot of experience in this area, being responsible for at least 5 recall elections at the cost to the town of thousands of dollars, I take his threats seriously. I cannot, however, take Mr. Davidson seriously and react poorly to threats. I refuse to resign. The mayor and members of his group of dedicated nihilists have submitted many public information requests over the last year or so. These inquiries are part fishing expedition and partly an attempt to divert town staff from other more pressing duties, i.e. serving the people of Quartzsite. To their credit, our town staff has complied with all of those requests except those asking for personal or restricted information. Before concluding this portion of my remarks, I would like to thank our police department for its quick response and ultimate recovery of property stolen from the town dumpsters. It seems two men were observed rooting around in a dumpster located behind Town Hall. They in turn observed the observers and fled the crime scene with 2 trash bags. The police arrived promptly, gave chase, and ultimately caught these perpetrators. When asked what the hell they were doing, Jerry Wilcox and Larry Pickett explained that the mayor wanted them to recover classified documents disposed of improperly by town employees illegally throwing the documents in the dumpster. After examining the stolen trash bags and discovering, well, trash, Jerry and Larry were released supposedly to complete other secret missions for the mayor. Number 6. At several points during the June 8th council meeting, Jade Harris, a longtime member of the Reform Group, made 2 obviously rehearsed dramatic presentations. In the first instance, she announced she had a present for some of us on the council. Constable Paul Stout, also a member of the Reform Group, marched to the dais and presented us with another lawsuit, accompanying the presentation with mumbling something about hiring an attorney. In another attempt at notoriety, Jade presented the mayor with documents she found in the town recycle bin. These, she breathlessly explained, were official, as they had the town's logo on them. One, she went on, was even marked, oh shudder, procedures and policy. Of course, this was intended to reinforce the mayor's position that the records custodian was inept. For the record, these documents represented the day-to-day work product of a very busy town staff. I suspect most of these were outdated. None were remotely classified. Jerry and Larry need to start hanging out with a more qualified dumpster diver, like, say, Jane. The incidents of Dean Taylor twice shouting epithets addressed to me were ignored by the mayor. Other than such outbursts being against public order, Mr. Taylor understands my opinion of him, as I have told him face to face. My only complaint is that the mayor chose to ignore this breach of etiquette. I believe I was raised as my father was raised, and his father before him, and on back into time long past. I was taught, as were most of us, most of you and I, that a man must be honest with himself and with others, that a man must be loyal to his family, his God, and his fellow man, that our greatest responsibility is to protect the lives and dignity of the elderly, the women, and especially the children. All these things and more we were taught. They were but a small part of the value and traits necessary to earn the respect of our fellow man. While in the Army, I tried to emulate the leadership traits of men I admired. Not always with a great deal of success, but I tried. I believe a good leader must lead by example. He must be willing to make hard decisions and be prepared to take full responsibility if he fails. He must be loyal to those who are his superiors and to his subordinates. And he must be prepared to challenge and correct any actions, whether by superiors or by subordinates. That may comprise his personal integrity. This is also the duty of any man of character, and it is one quality of all men who desire respect. When the mayor verbally attacked 3 women by name-calling, shouted intimidation, and overbearing arrogance, I remember thinking he was actually enjoying his act of moral cowardice. We have a saying in the military: lead, follow, or